Mesechta Bava basra daf kuf lamed aleph. Sagt die Mother by Rava the effect Hashaila. Bebari hey, what's the din? According to the opinion of Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika, a person who's completely healthy that wants to bequeath his nechasim to one of his children over the other, one of his sons over the other sons. So what's the two sides of the suffix? Says the Gemara, Ki kama Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika. When Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika said that a person could bequeath his nechasim to one of his yarshim, maybe it was said dafke b'shchimera, only by a chelo who's about to die. Dvar oiroisai who, because it's right for him, it's fit for him to bequeath immediately because he's going to die. So therefore, the pasuk of a yom hanchila esbanav, it will be in the day that he will bequeath his son fits. Aval bebari, but by a healthy person who wants to bequeath to his children, Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika will be made the lie that he cannot bequeath it to one of the sons over the other. Or maybe the Hira of Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika was said even by a person who was healthy. Oh, and the pasuk that we said is not misyachis dafket to a person who's the derech to bequeath. Only it means at any time that he wants to bequeath. That's the day that a bequeathing. Rabbi Shashi said to Rabbi Toshma, come in here and I'll answer you. Rabbi Nassim Abavli said to Rabbi, who is Masada, the Mishnah is, he says, those from Eretz Yisrael, Shnisa, Mishnaschem, Kidas, Kir, Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika, those of Eretz Yisrael had learned the Mishnah like the Shita of Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika, that we learned the Mishnah in Masechta Ksubah, his Imloi, because of law, if the Baal didn't write his wife the Tanai of Benin Dichrin, the Yahavian, Leich Minoi, Inun Yirsin Kesek Ksubah Seich, there's in the Ksubah you can have a Tanai that a woman who was married for the second time, a woman who's married, let's say even for the first time, but the husband is marrying her, it's his second marriage, and he has already, let's say, 10 children. And the woman that he's marrying now has the ksuba, and she also, let's say, inherited fields. So if she died and the husband inherited everything, so now it comes to the inheritance. She has in the ksuba, sometimes they write that the second wife writes that all her nechasim and her ksuba should go dafka to the children that she had with this man, not to the husband's previous children, other 10 children. Lamashal, if there are 12 children, 12 sades, so we say, first of all, the 2 sades, 1 sade is given to each of the children, because those 2 sades are the sades from the woman, the second wife's marriage, who she brought into the marriage, and she wants a dafka to her children, which is only 2. Now that the husband left over, besides those 2 fields, another 10 fields, those 10 fields are divided between the 12. So the Mishnah says, even if it was not written in the Ksubah that her nechasim should go to the children that she has from the husband now at his second marriage, even if she didn't write that her nechasim should go dafka to those children that she had from him, nevertheless, it's divided in the way as if it was written, meaning that the 2 children will inherit dafka her nechasim, and his children have nothing to do with it, and the other but the chas that's left over, that will be divided between all of them, all 12. Chai says Gemara is chayv to still commit to that same deal that her nechasim go dafka to the children that he had with her, that meaning his second marriage, and so all those nechasim go to, let's say there were 2 children that she had, and the other 10 children don't get anything of it, and the other 10 fields, let's say, that was left over, that he had on his own, not from her bringing into the marriage, that's divided between 12. Shetnai Bezdin, because this is his chayvus that Bezdin was meschayiv automatically. So what do we see from here? That the husband could bequeath more to these 2 sons over the other 10 sons, like Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika. So the Gemara Rabbi says back to Rabbi Nosson, no, Yizbun Tanan. Who says to learn Yartum in the Mishnah? Learn Yizbun. Yizbun means that he gave it as a matana to these two children. And then Rabbi said afterwards, Yaldus Haisabi. It was a shtus that I told Rabbi Nosson that answer, that it wasn't Yerusha. You see, if it was a Yerusha, then we had proof to Rabbi Yochanan Breka that a father could give more fields to two of the children than the rest of the children, or to one over the other boys. Says you want to know those two children the way they got it because it wasn't written. Rabbi said it wasn't written Miloshin Yerusha, it was written Miloshin Matana. It was written Miloshin Yizbun. Rabbi said Yaldus Haisambi. Rabbi said I retract. It was a kinderschaft that I said that in front of Rabbi Nosson to change the Gesa. But he asked upon Rabbi Nosson Abavli, and I sort of was Meyiz in the face of my face was Meyiz in the Nosson Abavli to push off to answer such an answer which wasn't even right. Allah the Kainalon rather the klal is, and we could taka bring a raya. It's talking about benin dichen loy tov b'mishabdei. I can bring you proof that with dafka talking about Yat Yerusha, because benin dichen loy tov b'mishabdei. Those children who are getting the fields for dafka from the chasma of their mother, and none of the other children get it. If the father had sold it, they cannot collect it from the shabadim. Now, Esau Kedat Yizbun Tan, if you're going to say this Mishnah is learning the Lashon Yizbun, that it was given to them as a matana, right at the time of the Ksuba, and then the father sold it, so the kids have already a shibud from the time of the Ksuba, before the father sold it, before sold the fields of the mother. So Esau Kedat Yizbun Tan, my like talking Mishadi, then the halacha, why should the din be that they cannot, the Bnin Dichin cannot collect from the Shabbatim? Obviously, the way the Bnin Dichin get it is not mitzad alosh matana, al mitzad Yerusha. Alosh mabino. Rather, we have a raya yitznan. We have to learn in Yerusha. That's the only way that we can learn that they cannot be given from the mishabadim. Because if you learn it as a matana, and it was a matana at the time of the ksuba, the children came before the buyers who bought it later from the husband. So they should be able to collect from the mishabadim. From the fact that we know that they can benin dichin. The sons of the husband's second marriage of this woman who brought in the chasim cannot collect from the Shabbatim. Obviously, it's not given to them at the time of the Ksuba as a matana, rather it's given as a Yerusha. Man shamat leidi islei haisvara. In fact, no matter who's the Tana that let us know this svara that a person could give more to one son over the over the other children. Rabbi Yochanan Mereka. It's Rabbi Yochanan Mereka. Shmami no. So we have a raya. I feel my body. Even by a healthy person, because here we're talking about the Isha by the Ksuba has written, is already given over, that Yerusha from the husband has to give it, dafka to these children. They get an extra chelik already from when he was still, right at the beginning, when they got married, it was already committed. So that's at the time they got married. He was certainly body, he was certainly healthy. That learns the Lashon Yizbun. Say according to Mandama that learns the Lashon Yerusha. We could ask, a person cannot be makna something that's not in this world. Like over here, you're saying it was given already to the children as a matana or as a Yerusha at the time of the Ksuba before they were even born. If it's before they're even born, and even according to Rabbi who says you could be makna something that's not in this world, only if the makabel exists in the world, meaning the children are in the world. But over here, like this case, where the children are not existing, they weren't born yet. Even Rabbi would hold that you cannot be makna adav shlei b'leilam. So how are they being kainit? Ela tanai bezin shiny. Rather, because here it's a different concept. It's not bezin. Bezin says it's automatic. We allow that the ksuba, from the time of the ksuba, that the children should be yashim, even though before they're born they're considered already as the yashim of her fields, of her nechasim. Achanami tanai bezin shiny. So too here. Tnai Bezin is shiny. It's not because he is able to bequeath to one child more than the other. Rather, it's because it's a Tanai Bezdin. Amalei, Abaye said back to her papa, Mishum de Kamafikla Bilashain Yertun. Abaye said to her papa, the whole reason, O Rabbi, that he had to answer that the Girsa was Yizbun, that it was a Matana, because instead of answering Tanai Bezdin, is Mishum de Kamakvik, Mishlein Yertun. Because Rabbi Nosson had the kasha on Rabbi on this that he learned out from the Lashon Yirtun that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka. But nevertheless, Rabbi didn't have to use the Lashon Yizbun, and Rabbi didn't have to use the Lashon Yizbun in the place of Yartun, because and in order to show that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka. He could have said Pasha, because over here, Tanai Bezdin is shiny. But you said that the whole reason he said it is, why did Rebbe say it? Rebbe said it in order to answer Rabbi Nosson in the Mishnah that you have no proof to Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka when he's a body from the Lashon Yirtun. He wanted to say you have no proof because you can learn Yizbun that it was a Lashon Matana. But Abaye retracted and he said, this that I said is wrong. Rabbi didn't have to answer Rabbi Nosson that the Girsa was Yizbun. You said he had to answer Yizbun to say we have no proof to Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka. Yizbun means a Lash Matana that they in the Mishnah was talking about it. The Lashon of the Ksuba is a Lashon of Matana. He says you said before, why did he use Lashon Yizbun? To show we don't have a raya to Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka when he's a body that he could give over the nechasim to one child more than the other, because there wasn't a Yerusha, it was a Yizbun, a Matana. So he says, you don't have to learn that. Because the Tanan, we learned Befedish, and we can learn even Yerusha, and it still won't be approved from Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka that you give Al Sabari, one child more than the other. It's not that we learned in the Mishnah, Loi Kasala B'nan Nukvan, the Yahavan Lechim Enoi, Yahav Yon Yosvan, Beveisi B'Yiznan, B'Nechsai, Ad Tilokhan Leguvrin. If there's very little nechasim left, so the halacha is that you have to leave food, sustenance for the girls, and a little bit of enough money till they get married. Because it's not the derech for women, it's not nice for them to go from door to door. For boys, it does. So the Gemara says he don't have to even write that. Even the Loi Kasim law, the Mishnah says, even if he didn't write that Nekeves should have from the Nechasim and can sustain themselves till they get married, even if they didn't write that, Chayiv, the Yisayim HaMachiv to give from the Nechasim to the girls, even though they're not Yoshim. Shoot Tanai Bezdin, because that's part of the Tanai Bezdin. So you have two parts to the Tanai Bezdin. For the boys, if it was the second marriage, so the Isha's Nechasim go dafke to the boys, Al Tzirusha, and to the girls, if there's minimum, they are able to sustain themselves till they are able to get married. So every case that a person is Mechalik Nechasim, that distributes nechasim lezebi Yerusha lezebi matana, and Turkey they did. He says for the boys it's obviously as a Yerusha that they're getting from the mother's nechasim, and to the girls it's a matana because they're not Yershim. And so you have the Lashon Yerusha matana in the same sentence. I feel Rabbanan made them. Even the Rabbanan made them. Once you have the Lashon matana in between the Lashon Yerusha, so we override the Lashon Yerusha. That's not a Yerusha, and the matana together with Yerusha makes the part of Yerusha as a matana. Amalei Rav Nechumi said to Abaye, V'Isdi, and others say, Rav Chananya bar Manyumin le'Abaye, Rav Chanan bar Manyumin said to Abaye, Mimaid v'chadinei iskin. From where do we know that these two takanas were said in one bezdin to can say, oh, it's like Teichi de Dibur, and if it's Teichi de Dibur, so the matana overrides the Yerusha and makes it all a matana. Perhaps there were these two takanas were said in two separate bezdins, and it's not considered as matana and Yerusha are put together with Teichi de Dibur. Says the Gemara, Abaya answers, Lo yisal kadaitach. It shouldn't even enter your mind that these two takanas were mentioned in two different bati dinim. Why? The Ketani B'Reisha, we learned in the previous Mishnah, Ksubis Memtes Amar Aleph, Zeh Midrash. This Drasha, Darash Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, V'nei Chachamim, B'Kerem B'Yavna, that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah dashed in front of the Chachamim, in Yavna, with the Sanhedrin sat, B'Kerem. Kerem is like a base medish, because why did they call it B'Kerem? The base medrash, because it's just like in a kerem in a vineyard, there's a whole bunch of shuris. So too, the way it was set up, the base medrash was with a whole bunch of shuris. Aleph habonim haschanim sheyilachamim ani yeshu v'habonis yizoinu. So he says that the scharim should yashin the money of your ksuba, and the daughters should sustain themselves till they get married. Ma habonim ina yashin alach misaviyem, and we learn out one takana from the other. Just like by the banim, they don't inherit till after the death of their father. So too the daughters will not be able to take from the nechasim until after the death of their father, and then sustain themselves till they get married. If you say it was both takanas was said in one bezdin, now we can understand. We can learn out the takana of the banis that they don't get to eat from the chasim and sustain themselves till they get married, owned just like the banim don't get their chelik in the Yerusha till after the death of the father. But if you can say it was these two takanas were said in two separate bezdins, these two takanas have nothing to read each other. What makes you say to learn out the takana of the banis that they don't get to eat from the chasim until after the death of the father, just like the banim don't get to take the Yerusha until after the death of the father, if they're two separate takanas. Says the Gemara, Mimai, how do you know that's your ayah? Mimai, who says? Perhaps I could say both takanas were said in two different bati dinim. Beidin basra, takim beidin kamal. But the bezdin, second bezdin, who's masakin takana for the girls, that they should get to eat till they get married from the nechasim that the father left over, that it's after the death, because they wanted to make it similar. We compared it to the first takana, like by the banim, they don't get to get the nechasim till after the death. We did it in order not to arouse questions, and people should ask, hey, what's the chilik? Why over here it's different? Okay, but what's the chilik between these two takanas? One is dafke after the marriage, and one is even before the marriage. That's why they made the takana together. So you have no raya that these two takanas were set together in order to say that Yerusha and Matana are together, and the Matana overweighs Yerusha. So obviously, the reason why Rabbi L'Chatchila thought to slug up that we don't have a raya, that Rabbi Yochanan ben says al sabari, that you can give one child more than the other from the case of Din Dichrun, because there that he wanted to say it wasn't B'Lashon Yerusha, it was done B'Lashon Yizbun, and not B'Lashon Yartan Yerusha, it was done B'Lashon Yizbun. But of course, the Gemara slugged that up, it cannot be Yizbun, and we have a raya taka, even as a buddy, Rabbi Yochanan ben holds that a father could bequeath to one of the sons over all the other sons. So here he brings down the sikkum. We can learn side like Rabbi Yochanan ben Bereika and side like the Chachamim. And Rabbi Nosson that is that the Lashon Yartum that the Mishnah uses, it seems like he's following like Rabbi Yochanan ben Bereika, because Mitzad Lashon Yerusha you see that the father could bequeath one son more than the other, like Rabbi Yochanan ben Bereika, and he in B'Lashon Yerusha. Rabbi accepted the kasha, and therefore Rabbi answered that the lashon is Yizbun. And Rabbi couldn't answer that; it couldn't slug up that maybe it's even Yartun, and the reason why we have no raya for Rabbi Yochanan ben Bereika because it was mixed with a lashon Matana because of the banais, like from the second Mishnah. from the second takana. So that we slugged up. These two takanas are not together as one to say that it's like that the Lashon Yerusha is together with the Lashon Matana, in order to say that Matana overrides the Yerusha and makes it all Matana. Because there were two separate takanas. Like we had this proved that we can prove that it was both one takana. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, one who writes Nashta Tzava, Kol Nechas Leishtay, all my Nechasim go to my wife. Lo Yasa El Apitrepa. We say that this wife that he gave all Nechasim was only to appoint her to become an apotropos. Because of the Lashon Kol. He said Kol, but if he would have left over Nechasim a little bit, says the Rashbam, then we say Taka, he had in mind to give his wife some Nechasim. Pshita says for sure it's a Pashta Zach. If he wrote that all the Nechasim should go only to the oldest, Lo Yasa El Apotropos. He only made him an appointee over the Nechasim, and he didn't have in mind to be makneh to him all the Nechasim, rather they should give the oldest son covered. But what if it wasn't the case where the father wrote all the Nechasim to this youngest son? What's the din? Do we say since he's a cotton, and there's no mitzvah to be mechaber the cotton, so for sure he had in mind to be makneh all the Nechasim? Or perhaps, even in such a case, we could say that the father had in mind to appoint him as an apotropos because he felt he's the most cheshev one, and they should give him covered. And for the Gemara, we learned to answer this question if he gave it to all the Nechasim to cotton, whether he's considered as apotropos or not. So he says, even by a b'nai cotton that's placed in the bed, who cannot move, he's a child, he is only as apotropos, and the father had only in mind to give him that they should give him kavod. So you have a raya from here, even by b'nai cotton, we say if the father gave him old nechasim, it was only to make him apotropos. Pshita says the Gemara, b'nai, a case if the father wrote old nechasim to the son, or be'ache, or the father wrote that all nechasim should go to acher. Acher, we say that he had in mind matana, to give him all nechasim as matana. Or b'nai, but by b'nai, a son, we're going to say he had in mind apotropos, that he should be just an apotropos. Sagt the Gemara, if he wrote all nechasim for his wife, which is arusa, or if his wife who's a gerusha, then we could say b'matana. It was definitely given as a matana. We're not concerned that he wanted they should give her kavod because he's not close with neither of them. The one that's engaged, he never really got close. They never got married, and the other one because he divorced her. If he wrote old nechasim to his daughter in a place where there are sons, or he wrote his wife in a place where he has brothers, and he brings down that the father didn't leave no children or fathers, he only has brothers, and since the brothers are not mechuyev to give kavod to their sister-in-law at all, the isha. So obviously he had in mind to give it as a matana, or he wrote to his wife in a place where he has children from another wife. Mao, what's the din in all these three cases? Was it given as a matana or not? Avina said in the name of Rava, Bekulu, in all the previous cases, by ishtarusa, ishtegurusha, Bas Eitzla Bonim, Isha Eitzla Achim, Isha Eitzla B'nei Abal. The halacha is loikana. The mekabel does not acquire old nechasim lavar. The only two that will ishta arusa, ishta gerusa. Isha that's engaged, so he never really got married with her, so there's no closeness there. And ishta gerusha. And we're not concerned. Maybe he wants they should give her kavod. Obviously not. He divorced her for the second one of them, and the other one that he's engaged to. The other case that he's engaged to he never married her. He's not either close. So he's not looking to give her kavod. In all five cases, the mekabel is kaina all nechasim. Levar, except ha'isha etzel achim. A woman where the husband had no children or father, and he only had brothers. So he wrote it to his wife, where their brothers were supposed to inherit. So there she got it as a matana, we're going to say. Or a woman that he gave her all nechasim, even though he had his own sons to inherit. We say if he gave all nechasim to that woman, who is not the mother of all the other children of her husband, because those other children came from a different woman, we say he gave it to her as a matana, and they were not made as apotropos. So you see, Ravina and Ravira are arguing which are the two cases